Saying sorry is tricky business because, we already screwed something up. But a 2013 study, the latest addition to my study wall, found a scary conclusion. Researchers found that when saying sorry, a bad apology can end up upsetting the other person as much as not apologizing at all. In fact, it can make the situation even worse. And if we already messed up, we don't want to mess up the apology too. So today we're looking at 3 words that are completely ruining our apologies. We start with innocent word number 1, if. Think of phrases like, I'm sorry if I did something wrong. I'm sorry if I made you upset. Pretty sus. The Oxford Dictionary calls this non-apologies. Right? It's things that look like apologies, but they're not showing any regret. They're hiding under this conditional if. It's not like you're sorry about what you did, it's like you're sorry about getting caught. This 2014 study is super interesting. They analyzed 183 celebrity apologies. 183. And then they looked at the public responses to it in the form of news article, comments, whatever, to figure out which of these apologies was the most effective. And the results were consistent, okay? Anytime an offender denies responsibility with words like if, people hate it. Makes them angry every single time. So what can we do instead? Simple. Remove any if. Just own up to your mistake. I'm sorry that I did something wrong. I'm sorry that I made you upset. Great example from that 2014 study is Bill Clinton, apologizing after the whole Monica Lewinsky scandal. Okay, listen to this. I did have a relationship with Miss Lewinsky that was wrong. A personal failure on my part for which I am solely and completely responsible. I deeply regret it. I must put it right. I'm prepared to do whatever it takes to do so. Now, there's a lot we should not learn from Bill Clinton, but that apology pushed his approval ratings up 7%. It was sincere, it was vulnerable, and it owned up to his mistakes. No if at all. Innocent word number 2, but. This one's even worse, and I'm sure you can feel why, right? Think of phrases like, I'm sorry, but you did these things wrong too. I'm sorry, but I was just feeling very upset. Or, I'm sorry, but if you hadn't done this, then I wouldn't have. Deadly combo, if and but, confirmed KO. And the reason this fails is what a 2008 study calls negativity bias. It's our brain's tendency to pay way more attention to negative information than positive. Who needs that? So when we hear an apology with a but, our brain processes the negative first, that criticism, so it's basically another non-apology, right? The sorry was just the bait, but it's really a passive-aggressive way of pointing out someone else's mistakes instead of owning up to our own. But therapist Leah Rockwell has a simple solution. She says, instead of combining 2 ideas with the word but, separate them with the word and. So the apology and the follow-up point become 2 separate things, right? Hey, I'm sorry that I said this, it was wrong. And also, I wish that you had handled this differently if you had said this instead. This lets the apology stand on its own, takes ownership for it, yeah? And then moves the discussion forward. And the final apology mistake is the worst one. It's when we say, I'm sorry, without even knowing why. You know who you are. This is called a blanket apology. Think of phrases like, oh, I'm sorry for whatever I did. Oh, I'm sorry that you feel that way. Or, hey, I said I'm sorry, can't we just move on? You can tell it's not right. And the key missing component here is sincerity. We just don't mean it. And that actually hurts a relationship even more than you'd think. Psychologist Paul DePompo says that if you say sorry without meaning it, one of 2 things. Okay, number 1, you don't understand how you hurt the other person, so this will 100% happen again. 100%. Or number 2, this person's mad at you for some invalid reason, and you're not even standing up for yourself. Both outcomes lead to resentment. Either you feel like you're always doing something wrong, or the other person feels like you just don't care when you're wrong. So what can we say instead of just throwing out an I'm sorry? Honestly, literally anything. Anything sincere. That's the common thread between every study, every psychologist, every piece of advice. It's that the exact phrasing of an apology doesn't matter nearly as much as genuinely feeling sorry. Right? And owning up to your mistakes in the most vulnerable way you can. No ifs, no buts, no empty words. But before we can feel sorry, we need to actively listen and understand exactly what the problem is. Exactly what we should feel sorry about, right? And that listening phase is so easy to mess up when both people are upset, frustrated. And 3 of those worst listening mistakes that we need to avoid are broken down in this video. So we can understand how someone really feels before saying sorry. I'll talk soon.